Welcome on back to another episode of the Goonery. Brandon and I here to talk about yet another Bears loss. Shocker. 25-20 against Philadelphia Eagles at home. Gutsy performance, though, from Justin Fields. One of his better games he's played, especially considering the circumstances. And he becomes just the third quarterback ever in NFL history to eclipse 1,000 yards on the ground in one season. And I don't know if you agree with me here, Brandon, but I just feel like this performance from Fields this past Sunday is the perfect encapsulation of what his tenure with the Bears has been. He has turned shit into electricity. Like, he is without a doubt one of the most electric players in the NFL. And the crazy part is he's eclipsed 1,000 rushing yards on the ground, right? He does not look at himself as a run first quarterback. He is a pocket passer who just so happens to be an athletic fucking freak who is, 6'3", 230 and runs about a 4'5", 4'6". I mean,
Yeah.
He doesn't like to run. He's on the record saying he does it because he has to, and he just has that big playability. And you would think after his performance this past week, people would start to realize that. If they haven't already, I should say.
I think the funny thing about everything that happened Sunday against the Eagles, which, by the way, they are the number one ranked defense in football. I don't know how many people understand that, but you hit on something that is very important. Justin Fields does not like to be a runner. He said in his press conference that, I don't care about breaking the rushing record. It's not something I want to continue to do every season. And the fact of the matter is this. A lot of people have gone on the whole Justin Fields is a running back nonsense and whatnot. So from the fans' perspective, that's what you are saying. But if you go to the opponent's side of what they're saying about Justin Fields, they're saying the complete opposite of what everybody else is saying that doesn't want to believe he's a quarterback. And I don't know what that tells you, but that just shows the arrogance of fans to think that they know more than the actual players playing on the field. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. And you want to talk about gutsy? I mean, Claypool was not playing. Darnell Mooney is out for the season. N'Keal Harry was not playing. Justin Fields was throwing to Dante Pettis, Velus Jones, Lasimba Webster, and I feel like I'm missing another.
It doesn't matter. The Island of Misfit Toys is who he was throwing to.
Pretty much. And regardless of that, Byron Pringle was the last guy. Regardless of that, he still put together a performance that kept the Bears in the game. Now, I want to give credit where it's due because I think everybody coming into the game was saying that the Bears were going to get absolutely trounced. You lost Jack Sanborn in the later parts of the game. You lost Tevin Jenkins in the early parts of the game. And still, it was a game that the Philadelphia Eagles had to fight to win. And that is a testament to how this coaching staff is going to look going forward. All this missing is talent. And once the talent comes in, it's not going to be, the Bears, they stick around their games. These are games that they're going to eventually going to finish because they have better players. So I think, it's important to take the season as it is. It's a losing season. It's going to go down as one of the worst seasons record-wise in Bears history. But the end game is clear. I think fans know it. And more importantly, I think the organization knows it. Mm-hmm. And as long as we come to the terms with that, we don't need to be upset about anything that goes on throughout the entire season. The only thing we got to be upset about is if the Broncos win or the Rams win or stuff like that. That's the only thing you got to be really concerned about. But at the end of the day, I will continue to say Justin Fields is my quarterback. I'm very excited that he is my quarterback, and I'm not listening to all the noise about him being a running back. I'm not listening to the noise about how he got hurt being a running quarterback and whatnot. Like, none of that stuff bothers me. And the fact of the matter is, I know people are going to say, what about a couple of years down the line when Justin Fields can't make those electrifying runs? Can he make the throws? Well, guess what? If you're looking to this season to get that answer, you're looking at the wrong thing. You're not going to get that answer this year, and that's just the fact of the matter. Next year, you can make those conclusions, but this year it just doesn't seem fair to make that conclusion.
And here's the thing that kind of bothers me too with the whole Justin Fields is running back narrative, right? It's it's kind of gone away with Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. It has. I feel like Fields has kind of overtaken that from Lamar Jackson at this point, and it's just because he's the young up and coming quarterback who everyone has all their eyes on. Lamar is banged up. He's had a problem staying healthy in the past, and this year, I mean, he's on the IR now, or he might be playing this week. Yeah, I'm wrong there, but it's Fields really has not like it. He's in better shape than Lamar Jackson. He is bigger, thicker, stronger than Lamar Jackson, and everyone says no one complains about Lamar Jackson as a pocket passer, right? Justin Fields is a better pocket passer as we stand right now than Lamar Jackson. He throws a better ball. He has more zip on his ball. He has more arm strength. It's just he looks like this is just the comparison that everyone likes to throw around. And if any quarterback right now in the NFL who tends to run the ball a lot is going to get hurt, it's Josh Allen.
Yeah.
It's Josh Allen with how reckless he runs. I get he's 6'6", 250 and built like a goddamn horse. I get it. But you can only take as many big hits as you can and expect to stay healthy like he does. I mean, quarterbacks should not be trying to hurdle linebackers and lower their shoulders at safeties. And
Right.
it gets to a point. Fields isn't doing that.
Right.
He's not doing that. He knows when to slide. He knows when to run out of bounds. He knows when to get down and avoid taking those big hits. And I think that is what makes him stand out from the rest of these quarterbacks who people tend to say are run first. And next year, it's going to look a lot different. I really, really do think next year is going to look a lot different. And you're starting to see that buzz around the league that, the Bears get Justin Fields some help, get him a superstar wide receiver, see what happens. Look what happened for Tua from year 2 to year 3 when he got a star receiver in Tyreek Hill. You see it everywhere with all of these guys. I know there's more examples than two. I mean, you could look at Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown this year. I mean, it's I know Hurts is the same age as Fields, but it just you get these younger guys, a bona fide star wide receiver, and it doesn't even have to be on the caliber of those guys, in my opinion. It doesn't. But you have to do something. And a name that people have been throwing around that I kind of like, I know he's on the wrong side of 30, but DeAndre Hopkins, man, I don't think that it would take that much to go out and get him, especially being, I think he's going to be 32. He's coming off a suspension. He's been playing pretty well since coming back from his suspension. And it really looks like the Cardinals are going to be blowing it up.
There's guys where you don't really are concerned about them being on the other side of 30. And considering that Hopkins is a really good route runner, so that would really help matters. And I think there was a point that someone made that made me feel good about potentially what the Bears could do in the offseason. And that is the two top receivers that was traded in the offseason was Tyreek Hill and AJ Brown. You know what they have in common? Going into the offseason, they wasn't going to be prime trade targets. It just happened.
Yep.
So it leaves the door open for some possibilities of what could be the big move. And listen, I think one thing is to be considered is that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be 32. You said correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe 31, or he's either turning 32 or is 32 already. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the championship window for a team like the Bears that's going to have so many assets at their disposal, disposal, you can get him and rely on 2 or 3 good years of really good production, and then you see where you go from there. Because let me tell you something, the championship window is closed faster than we think. And at this point, where the NFC is, the only team that might be built for sustained success is the Philadelphia Eagles. Forget everybody else. And really, this offseason is where you get started on building that foundation for the next couple of years. Because think about it like this: you trade for DeAndre Hopkins, or this is scary. I'm pretty sure this won't happen. I'm scared of this. Let's say if Michael Thomas is available and we trade for him, right? Now, the thing about it is
There's
they
another.
could be bona fide. No, they could be bona fide number one receivers on the Bears, and they can still draft a guy and develop them from there. So you can have your guy while your number one guy is still doing what he's doing. That's the dream scenario.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough because this was a draft where we're excited. First round, second round, third rounders, we have them. Like we have those picks at our disposal. But fact of the matter is, it's about getting the right guys so you can be contenders right away. And it's good. And I know people. I'm one of those people that believe that the draft is a vital part of your rebuild. But if you have to give up those assets to get your franchise quarterback in the right position, you do it, and then you just deal with whatever comes after that. Because also, I think people forgot when the Bears came into last offseason, we didn't have many picks, and we turned it to 11 picks.
Yep.
I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world to trade a couple of picks, so you can always get those picks back.
And there's one future Hall of Famer, I think, that we haven't mentioned yet at the wide receiver position that I think is going to be available this offseason, and I would love to.
What are you talking about?
Mike Evans.
Yes.
29.
Same exact thing I was talking about.
29 years old only. Still has another, I believe, 2 years left on his deal. I believe through 20, or maybe 1 year, and he becomes a free agent in 2024. He's 29 years old. Been in the league since what, 2013 or 14? I mean,
yes,
he is. We talk about underappreciated players on this show a lot. It tends to be a running theme at this point. We say Brandon Cooks is underappreciated. Mike Evans is just on a whole nother level, man. And I think Brady's going to retire this offseason, I think, and they are just going to blow it up. And they have Godwin. I don't think Godwin's going anywhere. He's looked great since coming back from his injury. That's their guy. Mike Evans will not cost that much to go out and get, I don't think. And I would prefer him over DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean, either one would be cool.
Or Mike Thomas.
Michael Thomas is definitely the biggest risk just due to his health. But I mean, those two guys. I mean, those are must right there. And I won't be surprised if Brady does retire or decide to play for another football team. Hopefully not. That we will probably see Mike Evans look to go somewhere else. And there's one name that has not been mentioned, and this is under the circumstances that it's a very clear decision to go for it this offseason. Odell Beckham Jr.
You see, I agree that I would bring Odell in, but Odell cannot be the guy you bring in. I don't think at this point, if that makes sense.
I agree with that.
I think he's a complementary piece at this point. You don't know how he's going to be coming off the torn ACL. And I would love it as long as that's not the only move.
Okay, that's fair.
And
that's fair.
I do think, I mean, they have $125 million in cap space. Ryan Poles has the money to play around with here and make that happen, where you could go out and get Odell, and you could get one of those guys like Hopkins or Evans, combining the draft capital and the cap space they have.
Yeah.
The options are there.
Right.
The options are there. I am not against Odell Beckham. It's not my preferred, but I would not be opposed under any circumstances. The more weapons, the better. That is my opinion. The more weapons,
fill it up.
I mean, whatever it takes to keep Justin Fields from tucking and running as much as he has. I know we say that's what makes him so dynamic, but I just want to see him be comfortable. He's not comfortable right now. And that's because he can't do what he wants to do.
Right.
I think he wants to be running down the sideline, spinning, breaking 3 tackles, spin move, stepping out of bounds, running for, I mean, like, dude, like, the play I'm talking about from the Eagles this past week. And I know being like a gain of 36, 37, barely stepped out. He should have died 3 times on that play. He should not have made it out of the pocket. He should not have made it out of the pocket. And yet he somehow, yes, he stepped out of bounds, but he made it to the end zone on his team. And you don't think he wants, yes, I'm sure that's fun. I guarantee you that's fun let's be honest. But no quarterback wants to be doing that. You know what he wants to be doing. And even more so than the wide receiver help, they need to shore up the offensive line, man. And you've seen with Tevin Jenkins now getting banged up, I mean, I'm hoping that's not too serious. I haven't seen anything else come out of it as of our tape, other than him being released from the hospital, which I didn't even know he was in the hospital until I saw he was released. Not sure about you,
Yeah, me either.
but there's one, and now with white hair,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not good. But there's one other thing that I took away from the game this weekend, and it's that Alex Leatherwood is as bad as we think he
Yes.
is. And he should never line up at the tackle position in the NFL ever again.
I think what is very annoying to me, because while he did not play good, you're leaving him on an island with Hassan Reddick. What in God's name are you doing? This is a guy that's barely played this season. He doesn't have. I'm pretty sure that because I'm gonna be just a little bit fair to Alex Leatherwood, because I'm pretty sure
he has not been set up for success. He hasn't. I agree.
Not at all. And truth be told, a lot of offensive lines are going to have their worst game against the Phillies defensive line. So I get it. But just even if he was bad, put him in the best possible situation is where it's like, bro, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? We got to help him out, because he's not going to be able to contain their best pass rusher. Can't do that. And one thing that I want to call out, and that is that PFF is full of garbage. You want to know why? Because they've sat there and lied to our faces, saying that the Chicago Bears offensive line is top 15 in the league. And in all reality, it's because Justin Fields isn't getting sacked because he's making the plays for himself. That's why that stuff is misleading. You got guys Clay Harbor, I follow him on Twitter. He's a good follow, but he's been running with this whole thing of the Bears offensive line being not as bad as we think. Yeah. I'm just like, bro, are we watching the same game? Because I know you played in the league, but I mean, even somebody that's picking up football for the first time and watching the Bears offensive line play, you can't tell me that is an average NFL offensive line. Don't tell me that. So yes, that needs to really get shored up. And that's the great thing about having so much money, that literally, if you want to fill 3 positions, you could do that. But it's unfortunately that has gotten to 3, because Cody Whitehair has really, really been bad this year so far. And that Eagles game, he looked completely and utterly lost. And it's crazy that we've got to the point where we're just like, man, our best 2 linemen is really Braxton Jones and Tevin Jenkins. Who would have thought coming into the season?
I mean, it makes me feel good for the future. Yes, it does. That it's a positive for the future. But for the right now, man, that's just really fucking bad. Like there's no sugarcoating it. That's really, really bad.
Yeah.
And end of the day, neither of us had any real expectations coming into this season. I mean, we could go back to our episodes leading up to the season, and I guarantee you, both of us, I think the most wins we predicted was 6.
Yes.
I think 6 was what we said. We settled on being the ceiling, and even then, we knew that was at least I thought that was unrealistic. We had no expectations for the season. All we wanted to see was those steps from Justin Fields, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen them. We've seen them and then some. And I will chalk this season up as a win. And that might be a loser mentality. I don't care. I saw exactly what I wanted to see this season. I mean, we knew coming in it was going to be a wash. And when you lower your expectations, you're not going to be disappointed.
That's right.
That's all it comes down to.
You know how both of us know that we are not like really, really into the season? Let me ask you a question. Were you upset that we lost to the Packers?
Not really, no.
There you go. No. Nothing else to talk
about. I'm at the point now where I'm happy the game was close against the Eagles, right?
Yes.
If we're getting down to the stretch, I'm sitting on the couch, I'm watching the game with my dad, and he's starting to get pissed. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They look good against the Eagles. I'm like, they look good against the Eagles right now. And the draft pick's going to stay the same. Yeah. And then he's like, yeah, but wouldn't it be good just for the locker room morale heading into the end of the season to get a win? I'm like, you sound like such a meatball. and he's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. You're right. That is good. They'll keep the second pick. And I really thought Houston was going to win that game, fuck around and win that game against Kansas City at one
Yeah.
point this weekend. And I know we have the tiebreaker, but it's still, you're like, oh, never know.
Yeah, that's right.
But kind of wrapping up the Bears here, we're going to get into just a little bit of a discussion around the league. It was an exciting week. I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
love having NFL on the Saturday. I mean, we had the biggest comeback ever from the Vikings taking down the Colts. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than if Jeff Saturday is the coach of the Indianapolis Colts next year, something is incredibly wrong there, even more wrong than it is already, and that the Vikings are still the biggest frauds on the entire planet.
I'm glad we're on the same page. I'm not moved by what they did. That was cool. That was awesome. It was a good moment.
Dude, that's the Colts and Jeff Saturday. Jonathan Taylor got hurt. You have Matt Ryan, who needs to be taken out behind the shed and a bullet put in his brain. I mean, it's sad. I would not be against the Indianapolis Colts being charged with elder abuse with the treatment Matt Ryan is getting right now. And it's sad.
Well, they first they have to start with their owner for doing his own abuse to his liver because we know the history there. But I'm not moved by what the Vikings did. I think once we saw the touchdown, the second touchdown, the second half, I think everybody knew what the jig was at that point.
Yeah.
So I again, cool, good moment. We was witnesses to history. I don't care. I truly do not care.
Yeah, and here's a question I have to ask you. So hypothetically, the Vikings went out the rest of the year, and Kirk Cousins keeps playing at as near or at the level he's been playing at this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where does he finish in MVP voting?
Oh, wow.
Because statistically, the numbers are there, and I know he has the weapons. I'm pulling it up right now to see where he's currently at in the betting odds here for MVP. So he is okay. Justin Jefferson actually has higher MVP odds than Kirk Cousins at this point in time.
And you know what? It's correct. You want to know why? Because
I do agree.
Yeah, because not for nothing, Adam Thielen is not the same player. Dalvin Cook has had a above average year. KJ Osborne is your typical number 3. You take Justin Jefferson off that team, then Vikings are they're not a good football team at all without him. So that makes a lot of sense.
Best wide receiver in football. So Kirk Cousins though is currently sitting at plus 30,000 to win the MVP. Good enough for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th place. Okay, so that's lower than I would have expected.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Mahomes' award to lose at this point this year, it feels like.
And it hurts. It's too
the problem is if Hurts doesn't play, he's going to get Hendon Hookered and not get the award. Like
that is true.
He was screwed out of the Heisman. That's what it's going to come down to. But thing is, I don't even think the Vikings are the best team in the NFC North.
Oh,
I think that title belongs to the Detroit Lions, and I don't feel bad about saying that.
I will say this: the Detroit Lions, what they've done is just it's been. How else can you?
You just have to tip your cap. I mean, it is what has happened with this team is exactly what everyone made fun of them for with Hard Knocks, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh my God, Dan Campbell is such a goober. Like this can't be real. This can't be real." I wouldn't want to play them.
No,
I would not want to play them. I mean, and they're in a predicament right now where Jared Goff is, I think, top 6 or 7 in QBR. You can't move on from Goff, I don't think, at this point.
No, you can't. Not at all.
And that's a type of thing where, too, you move on from Goff, I feel like you might even – there's a shot you lose the locker room.
Yeah, you can tell. I think what impresses me about the Lions every time I watch them play is that it's really a play to Goff's strengths. Just seems like every time he's being put in the right position. Mm-hmm. And it's something that it does sadden me a bit because I think out of the 3 teams in the North, I would say the Lions are less because they've done less damage to me. That's how my basis goes.
I agree.
How much I hate the team.
I agree.
But I have to admit something that's going to hurt me and it's going to hurt you as well. The Lions are way ahead of schedule when it comes to the real rebuild of the Bears. Way
Mhm.
ahead. And we talking about just the camaraderie that they have and them just overachieving, because I think our overachieving would be to win six games, right? Their overachieving is being well into contention for the playoffs
Yep.
now. And when you look at it like that, they're gonna have a top 5 pick in the draft. Players that are improving, it's like, man, we have some time before we get to where the Lions are. And if you really look at it, if they make the playoffs this year, they're most likely not going to make the Super Bowl. But you're going to look at it just like, man,
It's
next year there may
a
be a
lot to build
chance.
off. A lot to build off.
Absolutely. So it hurts me, but that's just the facts of the situation. And that win against the Jets, despite Zach Wilson being the quarterback and him just being just
Zach Wilson.
as Zach Wilson as possible, they won that game.
Mhm.
They won that game. And you know what? Give credit where it's due. Regardless of who was the quarterback on the other side, they pulled that one off. And they were the reasons why they did it. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
that big touchdown that they have, Brock Wright, that was it was like, man, that's not something the Lions would normally do. Something feels different now.
Yep. And the thing that's scary with the Lions too, I think they have 3 legitimate difference maker weapons on that offense right now that are all incredibly young. Whether it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, Jameson Williams, who we saw can still take the top off of defense, even coming off of a torn ACL. I mean, I'm not looking forward to playing the Lions moving into the
Not at
future
all.
here. And it's insane to say, but Dan Campbell's not going anywhere anytime soon unless he massively fucks up somehow. That franchise loves him. The fans
Yeah.
love him. The team loves him. He might even win Coach of the Year right now over Sirianni if they make the playoffs, which is
He
crazy.
ha- he has to be in the top 3. There's no way you keep him out of that race, because they
He's
were
number
one-
2.
they,
He's number 2 right now. Yeah, I just looked. Number 2.
they were 1-6, man. They were 1-6, and I was sitting there laughing at it because Dan Campbell had a losing record in X amount of games, and here I am having to talk good about the Lions while we are approaching Christmas. I'm not used to this, and it sucks. But you know what? I'll say this: I'd rather be talking good about them than Green Bay Packers. So I'll take that. You got to accept what you will.
Hey, I agree. So on just staying on course here with the North. We'll touch on it. I mean, I'll call it a rather uninspiring win from the Packers this week against the Rams. I mean, if anyone had expectations for Baker Mayfield going into Lambeau, I'm sorry. Like, I know he fooled us all with the 98-yard game-winning drive on Thursday night, but this Packers team just simply is not good. And there's really nothing else to it.
With all the respect, Ben, there's nothing to talk about here with this team, with either of them.
No.
I don't want to hear all this nonsense from the Packers saying that we have a chance at the playoffs now because you beat Baker Mayfield at Lambeau. Give it up. You beat the Bears, you beat the Rams. Are you serious right now? Come on. There's nothing to talk about here. They're not making the playoffs. They're gonna get smoked in Miami. I'm not, bro. I got
Packer fans may be, I don't even feel bad saying this, the most delusional fan base in all of sports. That includes Duke basketball. That includes the New York Yankees. That includes the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I could go on here. They're right up there. And I don't know if it's just because I interact with more Packer fans than I would like to. One of my best friends, he's a diehard Packer fan. I don't know how. He grew up half a mile away from me in the south side of Chicago, but he's a diehard Packer fan. After they win, he's sending me the graphics. Need this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. Packers need to win out. I'm like, what?
that will get you a temporary block.
Okay. I just don't respond. I'm like, dude, like, because I'll say something and he goes, yeah, at least I'm not a Bears fan. All right, but at least I'm not delusional. At least I'm not delusional. That's all.
You know what's up this year. We ain't expect no playoffs.
And he's admitted to me too. It pained him, but he thinks Fields is good. So I'll hold that over his head forever. But there's another game kind of want to touch on here. Jacksonville Jaguars, man. 40-34 overtime win over the Dallas Cowboys. Trevor Lawrence has officially taken that next step over these last few weeks. And over the last, I'll say 3 to 4 weeks, the Jaguars have looked like a top 8 team in football, maybe.
That's fair.
They legitimately look good. Add in the fact that they're getting Calvin Ridley back. Not back. They're adding Calvin Ridley next year. Trevor Lawrence is going to have an offense that consists of Travis Etienne, who, when he's fully healthy, we've seen how good he can be. You're going to have Calvin Ridley. You're going to have Zay Jones, Christian Kirk. And apparently Evan Ingram is good.
He's reborn.
Yeah. I mean, Trevor Lawrence completed 65% of his passes this week for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's arrived. I know on this show earlier in the year, we were kind of starting to doubt him. He started out the year pretty okay with Doug Peterson. Then he kind of fluctuated a little bit, he was underwater for a bit. He's shown why he was the number 1 pick. And it's clear who the top 2 quarterbacks in that draft class are. And I'm just happy we have one of them.
Absolutely. And we jumped the gun. I jumped the gun because I will admit, me jumping the gun had a lot to do with me just being completely upset that there were people that were not giving the same energy to Trevor Lawrence as they were to Justin Fields. But it's clear now that Trevor Lawrence is the number 1 guy in this draft class. And, it's one of those things where you'll be disappointed if that wasn't the case, because look at the guys he's throwing to. And, there is definitely an accord being built with those guys. And that's the most impressive thing. And I'm glad we're starting off giving the Jaguars credit, because regardless of what the Cowboys did in collapsing, the Jaguars took advantage. That's what you need to do.
They put up 40. I know there was a defensive touchdown. I know that. They put up 40 points on the Dallas Cowboys, whose defense at times this year has looked like they've looked like world beaters at points.
Yeah.
That's pretty damn impressive. And I don't want to bring this back to the Bears, but I'm going to. I'm really starting to wonder, was Eberflus the right hire when you have Doug Peterson out there, who he's shown he can win in the past. You've seen what he can do with young quarterbacks. And I just look at this offense with Trevor Lawrence right now and how it's firing on all cylinders. And I know Fields has looked good with what he's been given, but I just can't help but wonder still, what if?
I want to let people in on something. People look at Doug Peterson after the Eagles Super Bowl, and they base his tenure off of that and that alone, which I think is completely unfair.
I agree.
You want to know why Doug Peterson lost his job? Because Carson Wentz was a diva. That's why he lost his job. It was either Wentz or Peterson. They chose their supposed franchise quarterback. Granted, they struck gold with Sirianni, but Peterson never deserved to lose his job because of Carson Wentz. And all I saw throughout the offseason, when the Bears were interviewing Peterson, everybody said no. But I'm just like, I
liked it. I wish that at the time, if it wasn't Dable, I wanted Doug Peterson.
Absolutely, because he stepped with the quarterbacks that he develops. And this is not to say that Luke Getsy doesn't get it or he just won't ever be successful. But in terms of a head coach of a football team and how much that the players are playing for him, and they're not having one guy disconnect the entire locker room, you start to wonder if Eberflus was the right choice. Now, granted, there's a lot to say. There's a lot good to say about both guys, but you still wonder.
No, absolutely. And I don't dislike Matt Eberflus. I want to be on the
Not
record.
at all.
I do not dislike him at all. I think it looks like at least up to this point, it's been a solid hire. It does. Like you could tell the locker room likes him, and that's what matters. End of the day, it really does. But the thought is just it's always going to be in your head. And the Jaguars, I genuinely believe they will be the division favorites for the AFC South heading into the season next year. And
They have to.
I mean, it'll be the first time in 5 or so years, probably, roughly,
Yeah, but around the same time where
with
next
Bortles.
season after the
Yeah.
Jaguars made AFC Championship game. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so it's this weekly roundup would not be complete if we don't touch on it. What was the craziest ending to any NFL game I've ever seen, and I don't even feel okay, not ever, but in a very, very long time. The ending in the Raiders and Patriots game. I'm amazed Jacoby Myers still has a job.
I'm gonna be honest with you. You saying that's the craziest ending to a football game ever is not off base at all. It's really
No,
not.
I mean, it's just like, I mean, if you don't know about this, I don't know why you're listening to this show, if we're being completely honest, because you've listened to a lot of football talk. If you didn't see this, Ramondre Stevenson, I don't understand why he just didn't go down. I don't understand. It was a tie game. It all starts there, right? Ramondre Stevenson pitching it back to Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers' throw, I'm just going to say he shouldn't have done that. Wasn't a bad throw. It wasn't a bad throw. And I also, too, I just want to say, I feel bad for Mac Jones. He's getting clowned on it, but what is he supposed to do? Is he supposed to take down Chandler Jones, man? Like, that's just wrong place, wrong time. And I'm not a Mac Jones defender, but man, I feel bad for him because he's getting clowned for getting taken down by one of the best pass rushers of this generation. And I mean, it's a funny visual, don't get me wrong. But that's just the type of like right turn the Raiders needed, and they're still not technically mathematically out of the playoffs yet, which is insane.
Completely insane. And it's crazy how the Steelers and Raiders have actual playoff implications. But one thing I do want to touch on, number one, Jacoby Myers cost himself a lot of money with that one play.
Yes, he did.
A lot of money.
He will be remembered for that for the rest of his time in the NFL.
1,000%. And number two, you really wonder if sometimes these players have money on these games. Because like you said, that throw to Chandler Jones was literally perfect.
Yeah.
And you know what? You may have to check Jacoby Myers' FanDuel history. Hopefully he doesn't smash his phone like Brady does, but you may have to check his phone because how perfect that throw was, it makes you wonder. And yeah, I mean, that's just been the Patriots season. And truthfully, considering how that game ended, how bad this team has been and whatnot. And by the way, they had a really bad missed call in that Keelan Cole touchdown, which absolutely was not a touchdown. How much more can Bill take at this older age of his? Because you got to be fed up with this shit at some point.
I don't think it's much longer, and I don't think it's long until he kind of just phases into just being the general manager. And the Patriot, obviously, no one will have any problem with that within the organization because it's Belichick. He can do whatever he wants in that building. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But you have to think, it's not going to be Joe Judge. It won't be Matt Patricia. Does McDaniels come back somehow? I mean, I don't know because it's always felt like McDaniels was Belichick's guy. He wanted to replace him. Or is it going to be his son? Who knows?
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. I did not think about that.
And I think it's Steve. He's like
Steve.
I think he's a linebackers coach now or something like that. It's just, or it just comes all full circle and Tom Brady gets a coaching job without ever.
Oh boy, would you listen? Brady not having full control. If he's going to be a head coach, he's gonna be the head coach and a general manager. Believe me.
You see a John Elway type of situation in Brady's future?
Hope not, because that means he'll be terrible. He'll be terrible at it.
Yeah. So kind of pivoting here on the topic of front offices, we're going to pivot over to MLB a little bit. We'd be remiss not to talk about this. It has been one of the wildest NFL, or not NFL, MLB off seasons ever. Ever. And largely in part to Steve Cohen and the New York Mets. Currently, they have spent over $800 million this offseason alone. And just for everyone to get grasp how big that number is, the money the Mets have allocated towards contracts this offseason is bigger than the entire payroll of the American League Central combined. That's four teams. That is no 5 teams. Excuse me. That's 5 teams. That is big. It is bigger than combined. That is the Chicago White Sox, the Minnesota Twins, Kansas City Royals, Cleveland Guardians, and Detroit Tigers. That is sad, and I wish there were more owners in sports like Steve Cohen. But with that being said, if I was a San Francisco Giants fan, if I worked as part of the San Francisco Police Department, I would do whatever I could to have as many people assigned to the Golden Gate Bridge this morning so no one jumped off with that Carlos Correa news bomb that was dropped in the middle of the night between Bob Nightingale, Bob Nightingale, I think, tweeted it, the arson judge news originally.
John Heyman
did it. The arson judge news, misspelling Aaron, going to San Francisco, that falling through, and then Carlos Correa being signed to the Giants for what was it, like 5 days, 6 days, something like that?
Something like that.
And magically failing his physical, and then within hours of the failed physical coming out, signs for 1 year less and about $35 million less to go to the New York Mets. The Mets are so far over the luxury tax. There was a quote from Stephen Cohen, right? Yeah, I'm going to butcher this a little bit, but just to put it in perspective, how much they're paying in the luxury tax in one season alone, it is more than the largest contract the Chicago White Sox have ever given out to anyone.
My God.
And it is over $80 million for one season of the luxury tax. Steve Cohen essentially said along the lines, well, we were at 2 pennies. What's the difference of going up to a nickel? I mean, like,
that's a bar. That's a bar, man. I can't be mad at him.
I mean, it was something along those lines, but it's just like, how do you get mad? And of course, there was 4 owners. This all comes back to the White Sox for me. 4 owners who vetoed Cohen buying the Mets. And of course, Jerry Reinsdorf is one of them because it makes him look bad. Sports needs more owners like Steve Cohen. I don't know how you feel, Brandon. I think it's a good thing overall, just because it's going to force some of these owners to dive deeper into their pockets, give these guys money, make their fan base happy. And it's insane the turnaround the Mets have done with this new ownership group. I mean, they wanted what people wanted. I'm sure you know it more than I know it, being from the area. The Wilpons were the equivalent of Satan, right? Essentially,
1,000%.
Steve Cohen is the Lord and Savior. I mean, it blows my mind.
I'm gonna tell you something. The best thing that can happen to baseball is the Mets win the World Series next season.
Yes.
Because there has to be an owner or owners that's going to challenge him. It has to be.
It's a 5-team league at this point. It really is. There's 5 teams who legitimately spend money. It's them, the Dodgers, the Yankees. I guess you could say the Giants try to spend money, and
Phillies and Padres.
Yes.
And here's the thing. What's a common life rule that people always are told? If you want to work for something, you go get it. The thing is, if you are so sick of Cohen spending the money, Listen, this doesn't apply to the smaller market teams, but
Mhm.
I'm gonna use another team example. The Cardinals. Let's use the Cardinals as an example. It's a perfect example. A team that said they're gonna increase their payroll, and you know what they've done all this offseason? The only time was a Contreras. Cool, great
Great
signing. I'm
signing.
very happy
Great
about that.
signing, yeah.
But what are you doing after that? You're seeing teams that are getting better than you, and you're not doing much about it, but you're gonna sit there and complain, sit on your stacks of money, and you're not spending it. Listen, I think it's great that we have an owner that is going to do whatever to win a World Series. That's what sports is missing. Sports is supposed to be getting the most assets possible so you can win those championships,
Mhm.
buy championships. Which, by the way, it's very ironic that let's just say if the Mets do win the World Series, they will be considering buying championships, which was the same thing that they accused Yankee fans of doing in
Yep.
the early 90s. Now, speaking of those two, it's important to have an owner like this because George Steinbrenner was going to go out there and get anybody he got his hands on.
Mhm.
And when they were on their run in the early 90s and early 2000s, or late 1990s, early 2000s, teams were going out there spending money to take down the evil empire.
Mhm.
Now we need to see if there's going to be a team that's going to step up. And really, there are teams out there, but are they successful is the real question. And the answer is no. So who's going to be that team? And side note, I'm a Cardinals fan. I know people who watch the show know that. Obviously, the Cubs are the team I hate the most. But number two behind them is the San Francisco Giants. And the reason being is that they have caused me very, very much trauma in the early 2010s. So seeing that they missed out on Aaron Judge, Archie Judge, whatever he's going by these days, and them missing out on Carlos Correa, it makes me very, very happy inside because if you're a Giants fan and watching this, I apologize to you. Actually, no, I don't. But I just want to tell you that I wish for the absolute worst of your fandom for the rest of your lives for as long as you live. I hate you guys.
And I I just like don't have any words, right? Like it's hard to put into perspective what the Mets are doing right now because Steve Cohen has also come out and said they're not done yet. They're not done signing players. Like, it,
Good.
yeah,
Good for them.
I'm just it comes from a place of jealousy from me 100%, but it's just it pro sports in America because of people like Steve Cohen are going to become a lot more like European soccer a lot quicker than people
Mm-hmm.
expected, and that's a good thing. I, I,
Yeah.
I'm excited. I just hope this doesn't blow up in the Mets face more than anything. It would be funny to watch it objectively happen because I shouldn't say that. Mets fans and White Sox fans, we have a bit of a brotherhood. A bit of a brotherhood here, just being the second team in the city, the little brother. Little, do I have little brother syndrome? Absolutely. I won't deny it. But Steve Cohen's doing his best to make sure Yankee fans start feeling that way. And God, I just tip my cap to him. I tip my cap to him.
Hey, all I'm saying is this. If the Mets don't win, I will admittedly laugh because let me tell you something. Being from the tri-state area, I can tell you for the absolute most certainty that the Met like tri-state area fans are just the most deplorable people ever. And it's like, for example, the Nets could be the most popular team in town, but the Knicks would be like, oh, we're on our way. We're on our way now.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Mets and Yankees. The Mets are very much little brothers in New York, and once these sightings happened, it was all just, oh, look who's a little brother now. The Yankees are little brothers. Well, guess what? you need to win to get out of that shadow. I hate to break it to you, because if all this happens and no championships come out of it, then it's definitely going to look bad on them, and it's going to look like, man, they spent all the money with no championships, so owners are going to continue to complain about it, and no real contender is going to step up to them.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just what it is. I'm extremely jealous of the Mets. I just wish the Cardinals were this way. I genuinely wish that they were this way, that they knew that there is a lot of competition in the National League, and they would just go out there and grab the league by the throat and just do what it do, man. That's all I want. Is that too much to ask?
Yeah, man. I I I feel your sentiment. And to wrap up the show, there's just one thing I want to say. If the Mets don't win a World Series, just pray for Frank Fleming. That's all I'll say. Pray for the tank, because I don't think he'll make it out alive.
I'll be honest, I don't know who that is.
It was the guy, I saw you retweeted him the other day, his shitty looking brisket.
Oh, him.
Yeah.
Okay. He's been through enough. Because
Yeah.
you got me brisket looks like tumbleweed. Yeah, he's been through a lot.
Yeah. Big Mets fan. But with that being said, we're gonna wrap up the show there. Hope you have a great holiday weekend, and we will be back next time. Thanks for watching.